n number of multiple fruits from a single tree. We are expecting a guava to be grown from a single tree. Similarly, an apple from a single tree, banana, cherries, etc., from one single tree, right? So another is peer pressure is another factor causing the stress among the teenagers because my other friend is doing this, or because the child of the mother's friend's child is also doing this. He forces the same child to go. So there's a lot of peer pressure also that's being followed here. Unable to manage with all these burdens of ambitions, he or she forces the same child. Pardon?
Please go ahead, ma'am. There was some technical problems. Please go ahead.
Okay, because they're unable to manage all this in an organized way, this builds an unnecessary stress among the child, which might result in depression and anxiety, inviting many more emotional disturbances. Also, that leads to various addictions at times and even suicidal tendencies also. Secondly, this age group, although they are still not mature with their thoughts, yet they want to be treated like adults. I believe my young panelists agree to it. Okay, don't call us children. We are adults, right? Okay, and this is a main reason of conflicts with their own parents. They have their own mind and their own will, and they often refute with their elders, resulting in widening the relationships with their own parents. This disconnect with their own people results in violence and aggression and finally attracting them to the outside world. Because because the people want to voice out your own feelings. That is the reason. And the social media is one such avenue. With an open access to the World Wide Web, the children get connected online without knowing the consequences that harm their own life. Well, I'll not take a longer time, dears. To conclude, there is a need. There's a need to voice out, listen to it, and bridge the gap between the parents and their teenage children. Okay, it's ultimately to voice out the teenage words. They want a friend who can laugh, cry, share the life's moments with that adolescent and say, "Hey, yes, I'm there with you. You can always count on me." Right? Okay. Okay, my friends. So I'll not take a longer time. Now over to my teenage friends whom I'd like to hear from.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really interesting to know your views. And that is what is the purpose of AIEF, Thinking Minds and Eduficent. Yes, as we always say, teen is a bundle of energy, full of dreams and wonders. Teen is one who is ready for a zombie apocalypse, but not ready for a surprise test. Ever ready to plan a surprise birthday parties for their friends, but they will not clean their messy closets. The sky is pink and ground is purple. Their aspirations have no limit and acts have no fear. That is the brilliant phase of their life, isn't it? And it is a one, and it is such an amazing phase that we all wonder why are we not there again. I would love to revisit that state so that I redo things which I feel now I should have done that particular time. But I know it is so hard and so difficult being a teenager. There is a lot of commotion going on there, isn't it, in that upper building of us, which we all talk about, and we have framed such a challenging world for you, isn't it? At certain moments of life, you are expected to be like an adult, and certain aspects you have to listen to adults because you are still a child. So this is a challenging phase for you all, but I assure you all, this phase is, I think, understood and experienced by all of us. There is no such things that we don't understand. It's only that certain things here and there it goes haywire. But trust me, children, mentoring you as Gen Zs are really difficult because we are walking on that ticking time bomb as parents, and there is really a lot of pressure and conflict, and we see our own replicas. Okay, you are like our mirror images, but with a different version. Your 0.2 or 2.0 version of us. That's it, nothing else. Okay, and I hope my co-panelists, Sri Lakshmi ma'am as well as Asha ma'am, would definitely agree on this because we are all parents too. As this, I think Anita ma'am would also agree on this particular aspect. uh, but trust me, I know it is a difficult world out there because you are living in a compromised two-faced global world, which is like, we are into virtual world, and you have cool, you look glorifying with your cool teen lingua, cool teen apps, and technology literacy, which most of us are still learning from you. And there is a casual attitude, which you try to showcase, but behind that we all know that something is missing, something is wrong. So let's now understand this particular facet from our young panelists who are going to introduce none other than Chandransh and Kshiraja. Both of them are students of class 11, and both of them have high aspirations from their life. Over to you, Chandransh and Kshiraja.
Um, Good afternoon to everyone. So, 2022 already, huh? Just when we couldn't get enough of 2021, here comes another year, which could once again get just like the last 2 years. Frustrating, irritating, and definitely depressing, especially for the teens. So, decoding teens. That's always been something that parents, elders, and others find very intriguing as well as complex. If you actually observe, one can't fully decode a teen, not without actually understanding the person.
Before jumping to conclusions and desperately whipping up solutions for a person, you should actually try and stop for a moment and actually think what exactly is happening to the person, what exactly is it going through, and try to understand the person's feelings and their situations. That's what actually decoding a teen is all about.
Adolescence is generally known to be a tumultuous stage in every individual's life. In this stage, individuals aged 12 to 18 are seeking to establish an identity, and it is a stage which is also known as identity versus role confusion. This stage also entails a variety of personal challenges and limitations faced, as well as confusion, as well as needs to be met, including attention, guidance, stability, among the other needs. If their needs are not met, then sadly adolescents are more vulnerable and at risk to develop mental health problems, just like any other individual going through dramatic changes in their life.
So, therefore, an adolescent with a mental condition faces more needs than an adolescent without mental conditions, because the one who is more hurt will need more aid than the one who is normal, isn't it? So, within a society of rules and norms, mental health problems with teenagers result in different reactions. As in, a teen can different react. An adult, if you see, if he faces a problem, he can react in a totally different way. But a teen, well, I'm not sure we are so-called mature enough to react in the right way. So the top three mental health issues among teens also include depression, self-harm, and in sometimes suicide. Our generation was raised on the values of multidimensional perfectionism, and also in which we constantly pursue a multitude of conditions defining success. Rates of higher Rates of depression in teenagers have soared in the past 25 years, and along with anxiety rank consistently higher than the other age groups. And such mental illnesses have often led to these dire consequences.
In a few in few recent experiments, peer pressure also emerges as a measurable biological phenomenon, crossing over into the perceptible world like the first earthquake wave etched into a seismograph. A 2013 study found that when a human subjects were told that a peer was watching them, skin conductance readings, which are a measure of electricity triggered by stress or by arousal, were consistently higher in adolescents rather than in children or in adults.
Now, keeping away all this stuff, let's just understand this, because it's never been a question of feeling invincible. Especially for teenagers, there's just something about the presence of peers that is transfiguring. They understand the risks and yet they take them anyway. Teenagers are usually known to be risk takers, and right now that's what's been happening. And sometimes that causes us to make decisions which we were never supposed to in the first place. So let's take in conclusion that decoding a team, which this whole webinar is about, isn't just about trying to figure them out like a maths problem. It's not something that needs solutions immediately. It's about trying to understand them the way they actually need it. It's about putting yourself in their situation and understanding them from your point of view, as in from their perspective. So that's what we would want. That's what anyone would want in this matter of fact.
Maybe that was just needed to mend the broken bonds of relation with parents or with friends or with even other people. It was just a little effort from their side to try and to understand the person for once and make him or her tell out the things that he or she is going through. All that was needed was a bit of an understanding, and that's it. And that's what we're going to see in this webinar. For a change, we'll try to understand the situation instead, and instead of immediately pouncing on it, like a math problem and finding the solution for X.
Thank you, children. That was really insightful. That you have given us. You just have opened a Pandora's box, and now we are going to understand each issue one by one. Now, I invite Sakshi, the young panelist, one of the youngest panelists, to. She's a student of class 12th, and who else to tell the next coming aspect better than her? She's an aspiring model, and she would definitely have so much value addition to this particular point which teens face. So let's look into that particular thing. Yes, Sakshi, over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, ma'am. Your thighs are too fat, your arms are too chubby. Should you be wearing a short dress? You're too tall for a girl. Well, these sentences may seem like mere statements to you, but to me, they are instances of the times when I was body shamed, not only by strangers or outsiders, but also by my close friends. Body shaming can be loosely defined as the act of criticizing or mocking one's physical aspects or appearances. Body shaming has been normalized, systemized, and has been an ongoing social practice for very long. It starts from your home and somehow never ends. The culture around body shaming never seems to mellow down. The diet culture found in magazines, books, social media, TV shows, and other forms of media only furthers this practice of feeling embarrassed of your own body. It is a big part of mainstream media and advertisements. Diet culture ruins your body image and even your love for your own body. This culture is imbibed in us right from our childhood when we see others doing the same to be socially acceptable. Well, I never realized how real my hate for my body was until I stopped looking at mirrors and started to hate shopping. I hated how my body never looked like that of my friends. I thought that the only way out was to lose weight. So I started starving myself. Well, I tried and failed because my family wouldn't let me starve, thankfully, and worked out for hours without any limits. Though I lost weight, my body issues didn't go away. Instead, it only got worse. I started hating and being repulsed of my own body more than I should have been. I started counting calories and limiting my meals to such an extent that it made me sick as the days passed on by. I started wearing loose clothes and darker colors just to hide my body. Now, well, a lot of you might be thinking, what has body shaming got to do with depression? Well, when a person goes through this form of verbal and mental abuse, he or she starts questioning everything. And as someone who has been through this, I can say that it isn't as easy as it looks. There was a point when I started hating my body for the way it looked. Not just the fat, but the facial features too, like my nose, my eyes, and the shape of my face. Social media definitely didn't make it easier. And I looked at all these perfect models with the perfect skin and body and kept sulking for not having that. This period made me lose confidence drastically. When people genuinely complimented me for my looks, I assumed they were just being sarcastic because I thought I was incapable of being beautiful. If body shaming is too frequent or has more impact due to any reasons, it may also lead to anxiety, depression, and social isolation. People with anxiety tend to overthink everything, and when it comes to remarks about their bodies, it is no different. Constant negative marks may make people anxious to the extent that they suffer from panic attacks and depression phases. I have come across instances where even when the most beautiful girls look in the mirror, all they find are flaws. My experience of being body shamed hasn't been easy. This culture is highly manipulative, so many people who are body shamed don't even realize that because of the way it has been normalized from ages. Anyways, I overcame this by realizing that everyone is different. And I don't know if any of you remember this, but in third grade, my first science lesson was that everyone has a unique fingerprint. I somehow happened to recollect it one day, and wow, if you look deep into it, it is so true. We all are unique, we all have a different shape, size, and shade. And I guess beauty doesn't lie in the standards that have been set by the society, but in uniqueness and confidence. I accepted that no matter what I do, there will be people ready out there to shove me down. So instead of living up to their expectations, I started doing the things that I liked. And that was my journey to self love. I stopped dressing for people and started dressing for myself. I started listening to my body and gave it the love that it deserves. But yes, I didn't stop working out because that actually helped me regain focus. But this time it was different. Now I don't work out because I hate my body or because I intend on changing it. I work out because I love it and want to make the most of what I have. I definitely have set time limits so I don't overdo and exhaust myself. And being a model, I can say for sure that social media is fake. When I go for photo shoots, my face is masked with 2 to 3 layers of makeup. And that's not it. Even after such heavy makeup, the photographers have to edit the photos and blur out all the blemishes. So models too have days when they are exposed to acne and pimples. This is normal. No one is perfect. And beauty lies in those beautiful imperfections that make you what you are now. So we have to learn to accept ourselves, our skin, and our body. Our body does not deserve hate, it deserves gratitude and love. You are beautiful, and I don't mean in the way people look in magazines. Physical beauty fades, it eventually fades. We get older, and we can notice the changes in our face. But I'm talking about your heart and soul, your hopes and your dreams, the scars that show how many times you have encountered the darkness and made it through stronger than ever. So stop searching for light inside because it sparks from within you. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Sakshi. I totally agree that we have all set framed person into our own set rules, and trust me, this due to social media this is coming out, but I totally I can say both the educator as well as our master trainer here would definitely agree to my point. We too underwent that. Am I correct, ma'am? We were gauged on our heights, we were gauged on our skin color, we were gauged on so many aspects including the length of our hair. That is how society is. Kuch to log kahenge, logon ka kaam hai kehna. That is what I can say it. So yes, what you have to do is overcome all the things, because there would be a lot of pressure which is bound to be built by society, and society is none other than it's us. Am I correct or not? Now I call upon my other friend, who's also a young panelist. Her name is Kshiraja. She would be talking on peer pressure and how it develops or leads into stress. Over to you, Kshiraja.
Thank you. Well, when we think of peer pressure, the first thing that comes into our mind is basically friends, our peers, friends. So, at least once, if not always, there has been that time where we must have done things just because of friends were doing it. And I've had my times as well when my friends would generally do something or else, pick up an interest, and because it was basically labeled as cool, some of us, including me, would follow the same path as well. So peer pressure is basically as I said, is the influence that is wielded by people within the same social group. It is also the term used to describe the effect of influence that has on a person to conform, to be accepted by the group. When I was told that I was different, I was left out by my entire class. Why? Because I was different and I didn't have the interest that they were interested in. Well, we can't blame ourselves for, as a person is unique and their interests are quite different, and that's what makes them unique, right? But we didn't know back then, and it's actually quite important to discuss it now. Well, peer pressure is commonly thought of in a negative light, but sometimes it can be positive as well. It's not a bad thing all the time. Well, it is usually used to influence people, but in a positive way. If in case we have some pretty bad habits or as we're going on a wrong road, sometimes peer pressure does help us. And peer pressure does not have to mean just friends. It can mean our family members, it can sometimes mean our juniors, it can sometimes also be just random strangers coming and telling, and that sometimes can help us as well, rather than always it being on a negative side. Learning about acceptance group norms can be a positive part of learning actually, and it also helps us to learn to live and socialize with other people. And as we teens grow older, our peers definitely play a bigger role in our lives. Friends as well as family, just as I've mentioned before, can influence everything from what kind of music we listen to, from what we wear, and from how we talk. So basically, it also depends on gender socialization, as it actually influences on how receptive a young person is to peer pressure. And also, according to research, it also states that adolescent boys are more susceptible for pressure for risk-taking behaviors, and that is actually a very huge problem these days. As it is not just based on gender, it can be on anyone. It can be, peer pressure can also happen within group of office workers, or else it can happen from a really small preschool kid as well. And peer pressure, as we talk about it, has a lot many signs, but I'm just gonna say some. And some as in certain things that I had observed in myself as well, which were trying to avoid school or any other social situation. So basically I tried to put myself locked up and then, in this little small safe space that I considered, putting myself, and as I will not be judged for what I like or for what I pursue, take, and what I tell in general that I like about, so that nobody judges me, and then I can go on with whatever I want to do. I don't have to change myself, as it was bringing in a lot of negative energy. And when I said that I have some general interest that my majority of friend group or peer group didn't like, basically it led them to distance themselves from me. So that was a very negative thing that took place. And also because of that, we tend to become very image conscious and sensitive, and changes in behavior and style take place as you're being neglected. So it feels like the entire world is against you. And also, as a result, it leads to stress, and hence depression occurs. And it's normal, but we need some positive changes, and we have to acknowledge that peer pressure isn't good all the time. But there are some benefits, as I've stated before, as friends. Family can be a great support, as we can, as because of their slight pressure, or as we should call it, support. We tend to try out new things, explore ideas through, or else maybe go through a challenging problem, and then learn to face it, and then learn to solve it as well. And in fact, it helps us go a step higher and learn more than what we are learning right now. Also, it helps us gain experiences, and most importantly, this helps us practice socialization as well sometimes. It doesn't always have to be that we are always, distancing ourselves from people. Sometimes it can bring us closer to people if it's actually done with some recognition and in a positive way. But there are certain drawbacks as well, which is basically anxiety, depression, unhappiness with how you are. Well, if I have to state some possible solutions to it, well, there aren't really much, but then if there are, we can actually do it by building relationships with the right people. So people who share our values are less likely to be the people who bully us into doing things that we don't want to do. So, for example, if we actually meet someone who has same interest as us, we can share it. And then also the people who actually respect our situations and who respect our decisions that we take, that is a great start. And also on trusted adults. It doesn't have to be friends all the time, right? Our adults can help us as well. So depending on them and learning on this is actually another thing. And also, planning on how to start out things. Basically, it all starts from ourselves. So supporting ourselves and then going and knowing that you are not wrong is another thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kshiraja. That was a wonderful insight that you have presented, and the example which you has given is yours, and that calls for some attention, definitely. But do you think that peer pressure is one thing which an adult in in a household or anywhere, any part of the world, if you go, I think we would have this peer pressure. Peer is could be friend, peer could be a colleague, peer could be your senior, peer could be your subordinate as well, or a family member too. You never know, because we have cousins who are of our age. So yes, definitely we are all undergoing the same pressure, whether you are 16, you are 19, you are 20, you are 40, or you are 60. The peer pressure would definitely be around everywhere. But now this calls on, sorry, excuse me, but now this calls on for a serious issue and a discussion with our teacher educator, our educator, Mrs. Asha Gehlot. She is a educator. She's a PGT from Science, and she has 15 years of teaching experiences. Madam, I would like to know, what is it that this body shaming, peer pressure, and all that things. Do you think it is existing still? Because it was like age old thing which I think we all faced as as a children, okay, when we were going to school. I am really surprised to see, that whatever they are talking is still existing, and we could interconnect and interrelate. Do you think it is still existing? My first question to you.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Deepika ma'am. First of all, good evening and good evening to all and my dear students. Okay, I have heard, students talking about their issues. I think they are still persisting in our society. Okay, and as an educator, first of all, I thank Thinking Minds, EduFacet, and AIEF for giving me this opportunity to throw some light on teenage issues from the perspective of an educator. So first of all, I would like to talk about these teenage problems. Okay, so what is teenage? It means the age between 13 to 19 years. In short, we can say the age between childhood and adulthood, or we can say adolescence. So as Lakshmi ma'am has said, one need to be very careful if one can handle this adolescence. So if one can handle this adolescence, the rest of the life will be very smooth. All I can say, whatever you set in this stage, whatever you do in this stage is going to change your life. Or we can say it is a turning point in anybody's life. I hope you agree, Deepika ma'am.
Yes,
It is
ma'am.
a turning point.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
So first of all, I would like to put my perspective as an educator. As a teacher, I will just begin from the very basics. As a teacher, I have seen, like, online education, they're facing boredom, inability to pay attention, lack of interest, and very less engagement, distractions, and maybe it may be because of the too much of screen time, which is leading to such issues. Okay, like stress and burning out quickly. Of course, loneliness due to no physical interactions. So, new to youth, these teenagers are facing problems of balancing their education, social responsibility, and meeting the expectations. So they are actually new to adulthood and are finding it difficult to mentally accept the society. Most of them actually give up at this age because they are not able to handle humiliation and defeat. Here the reason might be the influence by the other people who think that they are not mature enough to handle the adulthood yet, because they are too weak. So as we know that this adolescence is a period of stress and strain. It is the duty of teachers and the school to provide a stable environment to the child where the child can grow to his fullest. As in the adolescence, a child can go through a lot of changes, maybe physically, physiologically, emotionally, and at social level, they go through a lot of stress and strain. So here, teacher's role is actually very, very important to help adolescents to sail through this, very smoothly. Uh, we as a teacher should provide a stable environment to the child. A teenager who actually goes through a lot of transition at this age, and it is very essential as a parent and teacher that we must ensure that they are comfortable, they are given love and affection, so that they can sail through this transition period very smoothly. Now talking about the issues of these teenagers, peer pressure, body shaming, what they are talking right now is actually about their emotional balance. Okay, so there will be lot of mood swings at this age, many ups and downs in their age. So it is very essential to train them to manage and balance their emotions properly. They we cannot let them abruptly showing their emotions. They need to learn, okay, and to balance their emotion and present them in a appropriate manner. Okay, so if we want to train these adolescents, if we want to deal with these adolescents, it is very essential that we understand their psychology. We need to develop empathy for them. We need to understand what are they going through. We just look at the symptoms and react. Everybody, just look at their symptoms and react. But we need to find out the causes, why the child is behaving in this particular manner, what is the stress he is going through, why he is doing so. So to understand this, we definitely need to understand their psychology, so that we can plan a proper developmental task for them. So I feel this is very, very important as an educator. This stage is a stage, where the teenagers go through a lot of physical changes, hormonal changes taking place, and these changes affect their social and emotional aspects. They may fall into any wrong things. There are certain other myths and taboos related to this. So it is the duty of the teachers and the school to provide proper sex education, where all their theories related to sex and its myths can be clarified. They can be guided properly so that they develop right attitude towards their physical challenges. Besides this, I really strongly feel that we need to take care of their special interests. As according to Howard Gardner, the theory of multiple intelligence, every child has some or the other type of intelligence. A child might be good at something, they may have some special interest. So we should provide them the right platform there where they can be encouraged, their energy can be channelized, and they can pursue their interest. So there is much to speak, it ये एक बड़े सागर की तरह है. So but I would like to stop here. Now over to you, Deepika ma'am.
Thank you, Asha ma'am. That was really great knowing from an educator's perspective. I totally agree that a teacher needs to build that bridge between the parents, between the teenagers, as well as the society, which these teenagers are going to step, because teenagers or any student for that matter, it from K to 12 classes which we all handle, what I feel is it is the teacher with which or it's the school. They actually live there, and their world has become that particular school till they step out from the school. So it is our duty actually to showcase what is correct, what is right, and how to move into the society. And definitely, yes, we need to create a balance for all these things. But going out again, there is one more issue which most of the teenagers face, and that issue is how to please people, how to be people's people. Now, in this particular order, we tend to do a lot of this thing. We tend to have a lot of pressure building in us. Am I correct or not? And this actually is a problem which all of us face. So now, to understand this particular problem, I call upon Srija. Srija, are you there? Do we have Srija here?
Yes, ma'am, I'll start.
Yeah, Srija. So Srija would be here. She is from class 12th, and she is going to discuss on the problem which teenagers face on people pleasing. Over to you, Srija.
Good evening, everyone. So, before I start my presentation, I would like to give everybody an example so that they better understand what people pleasing is. I want you all to picture an average boy, Rahul, or as a girl, let her be Ria. She's sitting at her home on a weekday night and she gets a text from her friend of class. Hey Ria, do you mind covering my part for this group project? I'll be out that evening. And at that same time, the laptop beside her tings and a notification pops up. Thanks for letting me borrow your notes. I'm sorry if ma'am scolded you since I was absent. Oh, yeah, ma'am would have scolded her, absolutely. And she quickly replies, no props, you're welcome, and a smile emoji. Oh, damn, Ria. And then her friend calls in and talks in a rushed voice. Hey, Ria, send the list of today's homeworks. Actually, just complete yours quickly and send me the pics. I'll be waiting. Ria looks at her mehendi hands that she needs to dry out for her sister's wedding tomorrow, yet replies, okay, sure, Shravya. Ria, we can always count on you, okay? Okay, bye. And then Ria gets up and washes her hands full of mehendi. Now, Ria is a typical example of a people pleaser. A people pleaser is one of the nicest, most helpful people you know. They have a hard time saying no, and you can always count on them for favors. In fact, they spend the majority of their time doing things for other people. So far, this sounds like a good thing, but unfortunately, this can lead to a pattern of unhealthy behaviors. At one point in time, each of us has been a Ria. We try to please the people, putting their needs ahead in front of us. Each of us has agreed to do something that we weren't thrilled or ready to do, and yet we still said yes. Why is that? Well, many people use people pleasing in the same way others use drugs, alcohol, food, shopping as a way to avoid the disapproval or the discomfort of the disapproval of others. We just want to see the approval and we don't want to face what comes ahead of somebody's disapproval or facing a failure. People pleasing doesn't have to be a life sentence, but it is a very common problem. So you might be wondering, what makes a people pleaser? First, let's make sure we are talking about the same group of people. Let us take a minute to briefly review some common traits of people pleasing, also known as codependency, anxious attachment, and to be precise in general, they are the nice girls and nice guys. Then we'll shift to exploring what causes people pleasing. Typically, people pleasers are the The ones who are afraid of being rejected or abandoned, they are preoccupied about what others think and feel rather than what one feels about themselves. They are fearful of saying no, setting limits, or seeming mean. They have problem setting boundaries. They are hungry for the approval of others, stuck in relationships where they give more than they get. And all of this leads to them being overworked because they develop a sense of personal responsibility which they do not need. And often they are neglectful of their own needs and exhausted, overbooked, burnt out, trying to take care of others. Enough of all this. And if you are ever feeling stuck about what makes a people pleaser, go back to item number 1 on the list. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment drives pretty much everything a people pleaser does. Now that we know what it is, let us discuss the main context of people pleasing and learn about it today. Let us try to acknowledge it. Before we start, let me tell you one thing. This presentation is being aimed to those who might resonate with a part of themselves that realized how a few of their prior behaviors are actually because they have been trying to people please. Or even if you are not such person, it is to those who might recognize the behaviors of close ones in this and explain to them that this attribute is absolutely not a desirable one to hold on to. Let's begin. We will go on with a few phrases that will question the nature of people pleasing in you or your close ones. Are you concerned that you won't be liked if you disagree? People pleasing behavior leads to a persistent need to keep the seas calm. People pleasers subconsciously want to be perceived as positive, generous, willing, and available all the time. Like an ATM, agreeing with everyone around them doesn't rock the boat. They want to keep the water still around them. It also doesn't honor one's own perspective. This will lead to resentment, which leaves one sitting with silent rage and frustration within themselves. The remedy: use your voice. Speak up so you can be heard. As you find your voice, you will discover that more often than not, people will respect you for it. In other words, don't please others at the expense of your well being. It's not as easy to say than to do. You, you must try slowly. The only thing that matters is you do not give up on yourself and keep continuing with your behavior. Next, do you rely on outside validation in order to make a decision? Every time we make a decision, once think to yourself, what do you care about the most? That you are liking it, that you need to do it, or what is your main priority? If you find yourself saying yes because it will make you look cool to someone else, or no for the same reason, you are again creating grounds for low self-esteem, frustration, and resentment. What others say or think about you doesn't matter. How you feel about you is important. Finding ways to honor yourself and your authenticity is going to be your biggest asset. I'll take a moment and say my own experience. As a child, I tried to fit in. I tried to be, even though I had my own creative side, my authentic self that I had to be proud of, I tried being like everybody else so that I do not rock the boat and to keep everything in the same way as it was. I did not want to draw attention to myself unnecessarily. But then, as I grew up as a teen, as I grew up, most importantly, among the right kind of people, I realized being my own creative self, being my own authentic self, helped me. It was what I valued most about myself. It was what I was most proud of regarding me. Next, boundaries. What boundaries? The desire to be liked often wins over the desire to be heard. Let me take a minute and repeat that. This desire to be liked often wins over the desire to be heard. Not having boundaries also puts you in a place to be taken advantage of. your go to answer is always yes, then you are setting yourself up to be overwhelmed. Practice to yourself saying no. Practice taking off your needs before taking care of the needs of others. You are the most important. Next is I'm sorry, your go to response. This is the one I'm most guilty of in my past. Let me tell you how I overcame this. Before that, let us understand. Someone bumps into you, you say, I'm sorry. You trip over crap in the ground, you say, I'm sorry. This is a common phrase found amongst those who are prone to people pleasing, and it stems from a couple of things. Again, low self esteem, a desire to please others, and a disregard for oneself. I used to be guilty of overusing this phrase and have since stopped. First, I noticed when I would say it. Then, I began to stop myself before I said it. And one best way to overcome this is to replace sorry with a thank you. It takes time to change anything within ourselves, but it can be possible once you start working on yourself. And this is one hack I learned to replace my sorry. For example, if I were, if I had to bother somebody with a small work and I know they don't mind helping, but still I say I'm sorry. Instead, I tried saying, thank you for giving me your time, it helped me. And instead of saying, I'm sorry I'm late, I said, thank you for waiting for me. A positive attitude always helps, doesn't it? Creating firm boundaries does a couple of things. It is a way of protecting ourselves, it is a form of respect for others and ourselves, and it is a form of self care. And let me tell you one thing, being human is messy. We don't have to live our lives apologizing for it. A well placed excuse me is sufficient, and being grateful is the best. Is someone else's welfare always more important than yours? Moving on with this one, sacrificing yourself at the cost of helping someone, pushing yourself to the point of too much stress compromises your nervous system and makes you feel overwhelmed, tired, and depressed. Remember, the analogy are given on the flights itself. In case of an emergency, give yourself oxygen first and then help those around you. We are no good to anyone when we are depleted. So, after we discussed now, someone, how do we safeguard ours or someone around us? Self-esteem and teach them to advocate for themselves while respecting boundaries and the rights of others. We do not want to just be selfish, but what is the way? It is enlightened selfishness. Let me explain. This is a remarkable quality once you understand. We need self-firstness to act on our own behalf with clarity, pursue what is important to us, discover and speak our truth, and passionately live our lives while also respecting and loving the art on us and the others around us. Now I'm done.
Okay.
I hope you all understood something from this.
Yes, Srija, that was wonderful knowing, when you're talking about people pleasing. Sorry, the topic was the topic was people pleasing only. Yeah, people pleasing is definitely a real stressor on many teenagers, not only teenagers. Again, as I told in the beginning, we all face the same issue. As you told, I was remembering one of the instance where I was working. I was working at that particular time too, and then my senior, he called me at any point of time, and he was constantly asking me this, and in order to please him, or in order to please the organization where I work, maybe I have done this, and I think all of us have done this. So yes, it is a real stressor, and we need to burst this stress. Now, coming to the life being messy, I totally agree, and it becomes even more messier when we are talking about gender stereotyping and eve teasing as one of the most persistent and hot or burning issue which most of us face. I now invite Chandransh and Kshiraja to speak few words on this. Yes, Chandran. Yes, Kshiraja. Please go ahead with your topic.
So, hello once again. We are talking about e-teasing as a topic, and this topic actually is very serious. Well, I'm not going to give out some examples on this, as everybody has their own experiences, and it is no joke. Well, can you imagine walking down an empty lane and then knowing that somebody's stalking you? Very frightening, isn't it? Nobody likes facing it, but sadly, it is happening. And these days, eve teasing has become one of the hot issues, and also the rates are increasing as well. And to define eve teasing, it is also known as the sexual assault or sexual harassment of women in general, either verbally or by making any type of vulgar gestures, defined as eve teasing. Well, along with these, it includes sexual remarks, sometimes winking, whistling, staring, and even touching inappropriately, or worst case scenarios, groping as well. It's not just teasing that is going on in real life, but sadly, it is being depicted in popular culture also, as we call it, the movies. There's a depiction in film or Indian shows where a boy generally flirts with a girl in the beginning is generally accompanied by a song and a dance routine. And at the end, the girl surrenders herself to the boy. It often instigates young men to follow this as an example, and this itself, as a depiction, is very wrong. It is also depicted in popular culture that if a girl is in problem and is teased by boys, then a hero comes and fights with them to save a girl. It's like you're putting yourself into a problem and expecting the problem to solve on its own. Well, I'll go a little more informative on this as it is one of the most serious topics. When certain things like these happen, Supreme Court has given an identification on how on to see if whether if it's e-teasing or if it could be something else as well. It could be, it could just be some sort of a harassment, or it could be stalking. But then e-teasing is generally all of these combined together, and that itself is the start of mental stress, and that puts a lot of burden, and that puts a lot of weight on us. So either indirectly or directly, if there is any unwelcome sexually determined behavior, that is one. Or if there is any physical contact or advances or any demand or request for sexual favor. And to this, there are certain legal redresses that are made just for teasing, such as Section 294 that states that if anyone does an obscene act in public, such as sing, recite, or utter any obscene song or ballad or words in a public place, or even at a place which is close to public place, and such an act causes annoyance to others, it definitely does. There is no doubt about it. Then it will amount to an offense under Section 294. And also, Section 509 of Indian Penal Code also states that if a person who expresses words, gestures, or acts with an intention to hurt the modesty of a woman, then such person will be penalized under it. Not just this, but also there are workplace harassments that go on, which and and that includes life imprisonment, or if it was actually reduced to just talking or to either whistling, then sadly it is just limited to imprisonment up to an year or a fine or both. Well, there are types of teasing as I've mentioned in the starting. It is basically stalking, it can be whistling, there is something called voyeurism, it's that as well. And there are numerous causes to it, but we'll not go too deep into it, as we all know how it is. And but to mention them, some main causes of increasing are that in recent times it is often seen that there has been a degradation of social, cultural, and also moral values, and there is a serious lack of positive attitude towards women in society. We sometimes are seen the way we are not supposed to be seen. When we wear clothing that we feel like wearing and we know that it is for us, we are doing everything for us. But there are some people who look at it the wrong way and see it as an invitation, which is actually a wrong way to look at it. And sometimes people do consider women as commodities. We are individuals, they should know that. And there has been this widespread pornography, which we all know about. And well, as girls, as teenagers, and also to women, and also to young girls, well, we generally cannot prevent it. Actually, we are not the ones who are supposed to prevent this. In fact, it is those who are actually causing this, and they are the ones who are supposed to know. But if in case something of this sort takes place, and the victim, or the complainant should immediately go to the following places, and you can actually file an FIR, maybe to your nearest police station, or to your nearest women's police station. In fact, that is an even assuring place to go to. But we actually do not have to do that, because it is the ones causing it who need to learn. And then we need, it's not just us, but people have to stop looking at women in certain ways that we are not supposed to be looked at. We are generally objectified, we are basically lowered down, and then standards are basically literally pushed down in a way that things like these are taking place. And people definitely have to be educated on this, and this is not a topic that needs to be ignored. So a possible way where I can tell that we can try to curb e-teasing with just a percentage is, maybe if people are educated about these laws that I've just spoken about and punishments related to it, because the offender definitely must know the consequences of this act, and it definitely is not funny. Thank you.
Thank you, Kshiraja. That was wonderful insight, knowing that, you people are more aware than all of us. Now I call upon Chandransh on stereotyping and the perspective of boys, because boys are the most unheard. let's listen from you.
Yeah, I hope everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, you're quite audible. Good. Go ahead.
Okay. So, as ma'am said, it is untold. It's like an untold story. So, stereotypes on boys, it kind of sounds uncomfortable, like, no, there is nothing there on boys. Girls only face it. And, it's like as if a new thing that you've heard. But trust me, it is not a new thing. Every single person I can say that I've met has gone through this stereotypings. So, first, as much as I hear that, these times are tough for the minorities and the unrepresented people, I also realize that, being a man, a man is tough, even though the population of men is more than women. It's not about the gender. I'm saying the qualities that one possesses that people expect a man should have. So it's partly due to the expectations that having a masculinity or a masculine personality thrusts on you. And also partly because of the simple fact that we aren't just the people for the world. So yes, to answer your question, boys also, and not only girls, go through this stereotypic pressure, but it's just well hidden. Or let's say we just hide it well. And also people overlook it because they see it as a need, not as a pressurizer. Now this may sound new or even unbelievable to some people, but boys too get stereotyped. Admit this. Many of us boys face these stereotypical conditions, especially from our parents, our family, please, even our relatives. Whenever they come to our house, just keeps flowing. The stereotypic expectations that they have. Something like boys should never cry, or boys should always be strong, boys can't be feminine if they want to, and also, if boys should always stay strong and be masculine, or boys should not, they shouldn't cook or do household chores, or a man has to stay a man and can't change his sexuality, or boys should be independent and dominant. What is this? It's just expectations. It's not something that a boy or a teen is supposed to go through. Whether we like it or not, we all are constantly bombarded with these gender stereotypes, especially girls. But now that we know, even boys go through it. From the day we are born, we just keep receiving these comments and these expectations that we have, like when you grow up, you should never cry. If you cry, you are weak. Only girls should cry. Boys should not cry. All this, at a kid level, you won't be mature enough to know that such things are just bogus. It just doesn't make sense if you think about it properly. I know from baby boys should always wear blue, and then real men don't back down from a fight. It's like as if they wanted us to fight to the death. Like what is that expectation? It just makes no sense if you just think about it. So I will give you 4 situations. Okay, so let's say that first we've heard, suppose like there is a person, I'm wearing a pink shirt, and then a person is like, is that a pink shirt? And I'm like, yes. And also I have 2 more pink shirts and I am going to wear it. I don't care what is going to happen because I love it. Because why do I have to stay away from the color pink and focus on blues or grays or black? Why? Children get color segregated toys from the childhood. It's like if you take Kinder Joy, you go as a kid and you go ask the shopkeeper, I want Kinder Joy, and then you ask boys or girls. Like, does Kinder Joy have a gender? Does it taste male or female? No, that just it doesn't make any sense. Why does it have to be segregated? And under that, there is also blue color Kinder Joy and there is a pink color Kinder Joy. And you're like, if you take a pink color Kinder Joy, I remember I took a pink color Kinder Joy and I went home. And then my friend is like, are you a girl? You're not supposed to take, you're supposed to take the blue one. Why? They taste the same, right? Just the toys are different. But why should we do that? Why is this type of society where a guy has to wear a perfectly fine shirt just because the color is, different? He should not wear pink. Why he can't wear pink? That's a very perfect question that I can ask. I've seen other colors, become victims to this stereotype as well. What it does, it just creates a segregationist society that men can't venture into. And also it goes for women, women can't wear blue or something else. They have to wear, pink or something girly. That's what they say, Someone with a liking for pink is also termed as girly. It just doesn't make sense, right? Also another solution, where they say, be the man, start paying for your girlfriend or your other people. How about a no? Why can't a girl pay, okay? Like anyone can pay, not even us. Boys are supposed to pay. Why do we have to be superheroes or, rescue people all the time? Why do we have to be considered as the stronger sex or, why can't we be vulnerable for once? Why can't we show our weaknesses too? Why can't we be vulnerable? Because not only girls, even boys are vulnerable. They don't have to be always strong or always, in that strengthy mood. So, while it is a personal choice for men, to pay for people and all, that is fine. But, if paying for someone makes you think that you're masculine, sorry, you've got the wrong idea of everything. Chivalry is not dead, but this fake male superiority should be killed at the earliest. Why is paying for someone such a crucial requirement to be a man? It just doesn't make sense. Also, another sentence, that I have heard a number of times. Go to the gym, you must be tall, dark, and handsome. No, you don't get to tell me how I should be, right? This has always been a nightmare for me, especially because I personally, let's say I don't have exactly a gym body, but that doesn't make me anything as I am a male. And not being inclined towards cricket or the gym is like a crime for some people who expect too much from us. They expect us to be a man. We should play cricket, football, etc. We can't play with other things, like badminton and all. I remember once I was in school and I chose badminton as my main sport. And the PT sir was like, no, take cricket. And I was like, why? And then he says, it's a girl's sport. Boys should take something else, like volleyball or something. Like, why? Why does everything have to be segregated into boys and girls? And why do boys have separate thing and girls have separate things? It's their choice, right? They can take anything they want. You don't have to force that, boys only should take this, girls only should take this. Instead of opening up spheres to women also, we build these walls of masculinity. And in turn, we describe a man by the build of his body and his ability to reach the top shelf of the kitchen, where we are not supposed to enter that also. Because, apparently, men are not supposed to cook. Seriously, men are not supposed to cook, and they are not supposed to do household chores. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. Everyone falling outside the sphere of, tall, dark, or handsome is qualified for being ridiculed or even bullied at sometimes. And also, there is this other situation. Let's say, like, stop crying like a girl. There are a lot of people who want to tell you this, and I can bet that many of you heard this. And the idea of a real man is suddenly invoked when a man starts feeling emotional. If a man cries, it is not because he's weak. It's because he doesn't want to kill the feelings. He doesn't want to suppress his feelings anymore. There has been times where crying came to me as an inevitable response to a situation. And I really had no inclination to think about my masculine identity. And then I should just wipe away my tears and say, no, it's only for girls. What? We don't have tear glands. We are not supposed to cry. That's not true. It's not right. We are also allowed to feel. We should feel, actually. It's okay to be vulnerable. Actually, it's okay not to be okay. Especially for men, it works a lot. Because probably, because men are supposed to have hearts made of battle-grade tin and steel. That's what people expect from us, usually. And, some examples, let's take it, unhealthy stereotypes that males are supposed to have, acting tough. A guy who doesn't fight or he doesn't stop a fight, he's known to be a man. He has to keep fighting, that's it. And, if he backs down from it, he's given that sentence, no, men are not supposed to back down. They're supposed to fight back. That's not true. And first of all, physical attractiveness. That's the main thing that people are going through a lot, especially men. Successful men, they are supposed to look good, but spending too much time on your looks are not manly. People expect us to look attractive, and at the same time, they don't want us to spend time on it. It's like they want us to do it, but they don't want us to do it. It's just contradicting. And also heterosexuality and homophobia. This is one of the main things, and which I have witnessed up close personally in my situations. Like, I have seen this happen. A gay man is not a real man. He is shunned in the society. He is not looked up to. And, people often push them away, such people. Straight guys are not supposed to have gay friends, or, it's just the reverse. Why? It's their life, it's their wish, and we are supposed to take it, isn't it? And also, we need to stop looking at these challenges and these, gender roles and etc. And also, this is a very powerful moment for reflection, where each of us can look in the mirror and ask, ourselves, am I the best I can be? Especially for us, men and women. We can look at a negative way or also look at a positive way. Some teens especially, who are after this masculine thingy, when they look in the mirror, all they think is, I'm not masculine enough. I'm not a man yet. I should go to the gym. I should start doing things only men do. But also you can look at it another way, where you can start loving yourself the way you are, no matter what, because you are yourself and you will be with yourself at the end of the day. And people should love you for it, no matter what. We need to not only see women as truly they are, free from stereotypes, and even men also in this case, but we should see men the way they are, and we should rewrite this script of stereotypes. We should wipe it away, so that we can be free. We have the freedom of choice. We can choose whatever we want, the way we want it. Thank you.
Wonderful insight, Chandransh. Actually, the examples which you have quoted, I just remembered as a child. While I was given a cooking set, and my cousin was being a boy, he was given a cricket bat. Or I have heard several times that, she's a girl, okay, so usko ye de do, soft toy. Okay, girls being given soft toy, and boys being given a masculine identity. This identity of masculinity and feminine, I think it is what is there in our mind. And coming to the stereotypical conditions which we all see, and which we are all being born and brought up, is none other than movies, which is mard ko dard nahi hota. Sorry to say, as you have told and put it in a very beautiful manner, that you too have tear glands, and yes, tumko bhi dard hota hai. And that based on this, I would like to deviate a little and ask our educators to be on the board as of now, because our children here are going to ask you certain questions on parental pressure and its impact on teenagers. They have few questions. As we move ahead, we will just take a small break, and we will move into this quick question and answer session. May I have Mrs. Sri Lakshmi and Mrs. Asha on board, please? Do we have you, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Hi.
yes, we are here.
Yeah, sure. So, yes, students, it's all over to you. I would now ask, just a moment. I will now ask Sakshi and Srija to, start the discussion on this particular aspect. Over to you, Sakshi and Srija.
So here is my day as an Indian teen who lives with my parents, of course. So well, it starts with mom, can I go out to my friend's birthday? Ask dad. Dad, can I go out? Ask mom. And this cycle, it continues and it never ends. So this is how my parents indirectly say no to going out. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Most of you have experienced the same thing. So while it can, sound like a very short, funny story and very relatable, if you look at its long-term effects, it actually, prevents the child from being independent. Now, I mean, of course, going out and having fun is fine, but then, especially in this pandemic where we are barely able to socialize and the only mode is the social media, Instagram, Facebook, and everything. I guess in these times, children should be let out once in a while, to enjoy with their friends. I mean, of course, with precautions, wear mask, don't be too close, and everything. But parents still see that नहीं नहीं मेरे बच्चे को तो हो जाएगा COVID because उसका immunity बहुत कम है. I mean, that is what my parents say. I'm not sure about yours. So well, this is my perspective, and I would like to invite Srija to, give the deeper analysis.
Yes. Yes, my parents also put me through the cycle of yes, go ask your mom and go ask your dad. And I have realized and directly told my dad that, okay, I will ask mom. And I told my mom, okay, I will ask dad. That's how I have even understood their scripts from now on. Now, teenage years represent the time when a child goes through mental and physical changes. The need to fit into society will grow along with their desire to be attractive or adequately academic. Parents are the backbone to help them through this time, and thus, parental pressure may bring forth a breakdown. That is why we are here with a few questions and doubts. We would like answers from you with the perspective of a parent. I request for the first question.
So, as a teenager who loves to socialize, living with parental restrictions isn't easy. I understand that you have your reasons because the world out there isn't all good, but not giving us enough independence does not prepare us for the world that we are now living in and growing in. So, parents say that trust is really important, but shouldn't it go both the ways? So, what are your opinions as a parent?
Okay, a very nice question indeed. Okay, definitely. The parental pressure shouldn't be a single way. Okay, it's a double way traffic. Okay, trust especially should be a double way traffic. It shouldn't be a single way. Now, as I said in the very beginning, that this age inspires you to act and think like an adult. There's a desire for adolescents to have their own freedom, make their own decisions. In a nutshell, to say, you're watching the adults of your house and you want to behave and replicate them, right? Right. So you have certain trust, and you feel that yes, I'm capable of having my own thing, making my own decision, and please trust me. And your actions are that your parents aren't trusting you, right? This is your question. Okay, okay, my child. This is definitely a very serious issue, but I want to tackle it as a parent. This is subjective in terms of that particular maturity behavior of that person and certain situation. Like for example, say that I want to handle certain bank transactions. So if my dad is comfortable, putting myself into your shoes and answering this question to you, okay? If my dad gives me some bank transaction to handle, first sees me whether am I capable of handling this part or not. Or in coming to today's world, I'll directly take away the checkbook of my dad and say, I'm going to the bank, I'm going to withdraw this money. I'm taking your ATM and withdrawing this money. Will any parent handle that ATM card to the child on his own without knowing the prior bank background of how well the child is able to handle that? So it is this trust, without knowing the situation, without realizing the maturity of the child, no parent will trust the child. Of course, trust is of course there, but that depends upon the situation. And that depends upon how well the child is able to handle it. See, by imposing certain restrictions, the parents are not fighting for, or the parents are not, going against the child, but in turn, I would say, as a parent, I'm shielding my child from certain unforeseen accidents. I'm protecting my child. That is this layer of protection which the fragile period of teenagers don't understand. They just go to revolt against. If my dad isn't giving me, my parents aren't permitting me to. Say, for example, as a young child, whenever I told my dad that yes, I can travel alone, my father never allowed me to travel alone. Why? Because first he saw me how well am I able to handle all my responsibilities. When I was new to Bombay, I wanted to enjoy all the fantasies of Bombay by boarding into the local Bombay locals. So he did not permit me to immediately get into the local train. He came to me, he dropped me to the station, saw me how well am I boarding. Although he was not there while I was alighting the train, but hey, he got all that, inputs when I returned home. Then he was confident, yes, my daughter is capable to travel in the Bombay locals. So it is this part, until this part is realized, definitely parents will open up the trust with you. So it is only the bonding between the parents and the child. Be patient, don't revolt against your parents. This is my advice as a parent to you. I hope I've convinced your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
As they say, as the saying goes, you are never an adult in the eyes of your parents. And trust me, my mother, she still educate me on, how to behave, where to behave, what to do, and all that. So yeah, that is parents, isn't it? And I think the first teachers or the first educators in most of our lives is our parents. We have held their hands from the beginning. They have held our hands actually, and they have shown the directions. Otherwise, we would not have known schools. We would not have known TVs or anything for that matter. Am I correct or not? It is the first thing which we get is from our parents. And yes, if parent is saying something, then there should be some reason behind it, based on their experiences or based on their understanding about you, right? So we will go more into it. I now call upon the second question. Who is going to deal with the second question? Who is coming up with the second question?
Yes, ma'am. So, so the webinar has gone so far so good, and it just got me into this particular question. Earlier we were discussing about teen depression and causes for teen depression, and as you've seen, I mean, many of us would have checked also that many reasons are there. In fact, so many reasons, and apparently one of them seems to be parental pressure. Now, many people may believe this actually, but personally, I'm still doubtful because I have this particular set of questions that needs answering. So what exactly do you think causes depression? Do you think parental pressure actually is a cause of depression? Should they even be considered a cause of depression? Is it wrong for for parents to expect great things from us? Or why can't parents stop expecting so much and instead try to understand what exactly is the issue? Is it from our side or is it from yours? I just need that one clarity.
I would like to answer this here.
Sure, ma'am. Go ahead, please, please.
After speaking to few students, I do feel that children feel miserable and depressed by parental pressure. Some of the children feel that their parents hold them back from their dreams, and they make that decision for them without even considering how a child feels. Some feel that parents are putting too much of expectation from them, which is increasing lot of pressure on them. Children feel that their parents are not emotionally available to them. So in this manner, they cannot connect to them emotionally. This way, children do not learn, how to maintain any meaningful relationship with anybody, and which could really spiral them into depression. Some children says that parents are too harsh and inconsiderate, which really worsens their depression. So there is nothing wrong in expecting from their kids. नहीं तो किससे expect करेंगे? Yes, और कैसे satisfy होंगे? Right. So as a parent, for satisfying themselves, first they need to satisfy children in their life. Okay, and for that, we as parents, we need to take care of the emotional needs of the children. First of all, we need to identify the emotional needs of the children, such as belongingness, love, security, and all these cares, and all these should be taken care of. Why not in first place let us ask them instead of ordering them? Let us give them options. Let us try to know their opinion and be a part of the adventure. And why not adventure with them? Let us try to change. Let us accept the child, appreciate the child. This will definitely, bring down all that, anger, argument, arrogance, and all, aloneness in the child. Right? Thank you so much.
Totally agree, Asha ma'am. Actually, I think the key here is communication. The parent, when they are pressurizing, or we do not say pressurizing, we call it when they are putting forth their conditions over here, because they are the parents. They know much more about their children. So definitely here what is that, the parent also need to tell the child, because now the children are going to be are adults actually. We do not agree, but still they are adults. And what we need to tell them is, this is what is our set expectations, and the communication from the teens end, and the specifically I say any child for that matter, it has to be convincing. Am I correct or not? That is what Three Idiots movie also tells us. Correct. So the communication, I feel, is the key here. Parental pressure, or the child's pressure, there are other types of situation. Being an educator and being into this industry for 20 years, I have literally seen it's the other way around situations we have, where we have seen children pressurizing parents for so many things. So it is not only parental pressure, I would say. The society is divided, or the world is divided into two halves, where the parental pressure is at the peak, or at one situation the children pressurizing their parents is at the peak. So it's
and one more thing, I really, I didn't speak earlier, but I would, appreciate Chandu to take up the boy stereotype issue. Okay, actually, everyone should be educated not only about equality, but also about equity. The right attitude.
That is
to
actually
understand your
true.
point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the main aspect of this was that
Yes.
only. Okay, moving forward, we have the next question. May I ask the young panelists here to, put forth their question, please?
Yes, ma'am. I was very grateful to know Asha ma'am's perspective as a parent that she wants to travel with us. A parent traveling with the team through the changes they go through is a very good thing for the teenagers. We would very much appreciate it. And moving on with my next question for the parents, with every interaction you have with your child, is their perspective being taken into consideration? And have the interactions been one sided, or does your child have the right to disagree with what you explain to them or point out in them? And has your own behavior been understanding and inspiring for them? Could they learn something new from it? I want to know the fine line between caring about your child and caring too much.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, can I answer
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
question?
Please, please. I was actually looking for you there. Yes, ma'am. Please go
Okay,
ahead.
okay, fine, fine. It's really nice to know caring and caring too much, right? It's quite related to the parental pressure.
True, true.
First and foremost, when children demand, that, uske paas old dress hai, mujhe bhi ye dila do. When you children can put pressure on parents, not all the parents are equally competent of getting the particular gadgets. My friend has got a smartwatch. Mom, can you give me a smartwatch for my birthday? Okay, when the mother is or the father is not enough well financially enough to gift a smartwatch, the parents work hard, strive hard to gift you your own gadget. In that way, can't the parents, why do you call it as a pressure, my child? Don't call it as a pressure. The way how you demand your parents, the parents are not demanding you, they're just asking you because they love you. They want you to sail very smoothly in that life of ocean, which you have not seen, which they have already gone through this. That is the only thing. Don't call it as a pressure. Okay, fine. Now coming to it, yes, every interaction that I have with my child, your question was this, right? That every communication that I have with my child is my child's perspective being taken into consideration, right, Srija? Okay. Now, as Deepika ma'am introduced me for the very beginning, that I'm a mom of two teenagers, one who is just about to complete a teenage and the one who is just about to start into his teenage. Fine. It's really a difficult situation. Gone are those days wherein, wherein we coolly, not, I cannot say myself, okay, the people even elder to me, were very obedient. Even in life-changing situations like marriage, they never considered their own perspectives. They always went with their elders' mind. But today is not such a case. Even a KG child's perspective is taken into account. So keeping these things in mind in this digitalized situation, yes, children's perspective, as a mother of two teenagers, I consider my children's perspective at the most. Very well to say, to give an example, I cannot force my child to take up the stream that I wish for, or probably take up the career which I wish for. All I can do is I can just be at the back front and guide my child. Yes, if you take up this line, probably you'll be able to do well. Probably you'll be having n number of opportunities. But finally, the one who has to take will be that particular child, will be my child. She has got her own mind and her own will. And you, as a present teenagers, I think you agree to it. You all have your own mind and will. You're not like us, Papa, मुझे बताओ क्या लेने का है, क्या लूँ मैं? You're not, of course, into that category. Okay, you tell me, I can explore. I have got a search engine Google. I'll explore many more fields. I can take up this, I can take up that. Or you only just provide me with certain inputs. And yes, the parents are providing. And this is what is my rule also. Now, secondly, the interactions has never been one-sided. Yes, because the previous previous arguments are all supportive for this. I can only be a guide to my child, cannot move or cannot enforce anything to her. Okay. And regarding my role as both a master trainer as well as a mother, Of course, my children have learned certain positive as well as the negative qualities. Positive qualities, of course, as how I'm able to handle everything, unwind certain previous done chores, and then how I sit to take my classes. Now it is completely online classes. So how I finish up my chores and again be to my classes, how am I able to balance my professional as well as my personal life? Secondly, yes, the negative quality is that the way how I put restrictions on my child has learned this. Tomorrow, I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to impose these restrictions on my child. Although she's not able to, although she'll not follow this, I know, but still the very words say that tomorrow I'm not going to impose these things on you. So these are the positive and the negative qualities which my child sees in me and wants to aid these qualities. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Actually, here I want to put forth few things, a few pointers of mine. See, when we say caring, caring is our duty as an adult, as a parent, or as a teacher or an educator. Yes, everybody would be caring about you because we love you. Right, you are our responsibility. Coming to caring too much, you need to define what exactly you mean by caring too much. When I say I care about my child's grade, and I'm more stressed out than my own child, is it my fault? Yes, I'm asking you all young children, so you please let me know as a parent. I need to know this answer. Am I caring too much? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. I want to give the answer.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm not your child, but if I were your child, to answer this question, I would like to have the rapport with you and the freedom to talk with you about anything so that it won't turn into a lecture to me.
Okay, the lecture part of it. Okay. So you feel that lecture part of it is caring too much?
No, I mean, even when you're giving the lecture, we would like to disagree with a few points instead of just listening and dumping our brain with whatever you say. Because whatever we listen, we understand and we work out. So we just would not like to listen to it if we feel something is wrong. Or even if we feel something is wrong for the wrong reasons, we would like to know why are you telling this? We have doubts. As teenagers, of course, we have too many questions which we want answers for. So we want the freedom and rapport with you to talk about it.
Yes, as I told, communication is the key. Yes, it should be two-way round, but we need to define what is caring and caring too much. Again, we have just digressed this particular question. Coming to caring too much, it has to have a definite set limits. See, you are in a stage, okay? I just want to add on to certain points here, where you are in just a stage where, your experiences with the world are less. That is what I would like to say. See, when your experiences with the world are less or is less, here what we would say is you picturize the world as it's as a piece of cakewalk, or a very smooth sailing, but world is not like that. And trust me, when we say we care too much, yes, we have underwent, or we undergo these kind of hurdles every day to day life, and we know at what point of time you people need our guidance. Maybe sometimes we overstep, I totally agree, but sometimes it is our responsibility. If we don't do it, again, as you told, we are stereotyped as good parents, bad parents. Right? So it is a pressure everywhere. The pressure is built on, and as I told you in the beginning, as I told all, we are just walking on the tightrope. Have you seen that rope which the people walk? It's that. So caring too much also need to have a set limits, set definitions for it. Anyways, we move on to the next question. Thank you for this particular question, Srija, that you have posed. It definitely calls for an argument. Yeah. The next question, please. Yes, do we have a next question?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So, I'll also like to talk about this particular question, which has caught my interest. So, when parents have faced similar issues, many situations where, parents have said that they have faced the things that we have faced too. So, when parents say that they themselves have gone through the same things that we are going through, and then, they say that they understand us, okay, fine, that is also accepted. We understand that these things, that, it has happened to you, accepted, but then we are living in the moment. So staying strong is actually not a possible thing, isn't it? So what do you think are the possible ways in which you can help us boost our morale and actually help us tackle it?
Yeah, a wonderful
Uh,
question actually. Yes, who would like
yes.
to? Asha ma'am, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, Chandu here, I would like to answer this in a very humorous way. Okay. So, it is just like a movie, okay, जिसमें दो बड़े बड़े stars हैं. Okay. एक star है parent और दूसरा star है बच्चा, teenager. Okay. So, and both of them wants to be, star of the movie, right? जैसे शोले, right? शोले में क्या हुआ था? Amitabh Bachchan and Dharmendra, okay, both of them cooperated with each other and worked together. That is why the movie was hit, right? So here also, the two stars, the older generation and the younger generation, all right? So they need to cooperate with each other, okay? Should come to, one understanding, right? But here, I know many parents are watching. So the problem here is the older generation thinks that they are not old, and the younger generation thinks that they are old enough to do anything, right? So when it comes down to life, it is like clashing for the own space and demands, and clashing for dominance, right? So this is not a new problem actually. This is coming from generation to generation, right? Where old people think that they are not old, हम अभी बूढ़े नहीं हुए हैं, okay? And young people think that we are old enough, we can do everything, right? So how do we handle this actually? So according to my opinion, I feel that the older generation, the parents, should learn to keep on stepping back slowly in order to understand the need of their children and give them one chance, so that the young will keep on going ahead. The only thing is that the parent should display a certain level of wisdom and experience of their life, and if that is not done, then the young will disdain and they will get rough in so many things. So this is the one thing where young generation should look up to the wisdom and experience earned by their parents, to be in that same space, right? So we can actually learn by the nature. Have you seen anywhere or heard anywhere the mother bird? So जैसे ही अंडे से बच्चा निकलता है, थोड़ा बड़ा होता है, she kicks it, so that the small bird will learn to fly, right? So here also parents need to give one chance, okay, and need to understand their child, need to support them, right, and need to trust them. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am. This question was framed. Can I know who framed this question? Whose question was this actually?
It was actually framed by me.
Okay. So I just wanted to add this further input here. This question actually, instead of asking you to say stay strong, what other methodologies should we adopt here? The first and foremost methodology that you need to tell to the parents, or the parents need to understand, is having a good communication skill, right? That is the first thing. Second thing is understanding the perspective, which the parents should do. I totally agree on this particular aspect, because our worlds are not same anymore, right? And the problems which we faced back there, back during our age, and your age is a totally different. That as a parent,
Generation gap.
yes, generation gap, which we normally call. The problems have also modified, isn't it? Then they have actually rebooted, and they are 2.0 versions, which we faced. And actually speaking, when we say the problem lies here, I think it's Lakshmi ma'am or Asha ma'am, somebody told that you are alone. Am I correct or not? In a crowd, you still feel alone. You still feel lonely. The problem was not with us actually in those days. When we were in crowd, and we totally gelled in the crowd. But here there is some lapse from your end as well as our end. Okay, so this lacuna has to be, the bridged, and yes, there is a lot of things that we need to talk, and we need to work upon. We totally agree on that. And this kind of a question is actually a question which most of the parents should pose on themselves, because now the problems are parents are totally working, because the world is not that easy for us to live in, and we have to provide so many things for you. So maybe there is the lacuna, there lies the lacuna, or the parent is unable to understand your problems because they never underwent that problem. So the experiences lapse also matters, and so on and so forth. So that is what I just wanted to tell you in order to make you clear. I'm not saying that parents are not at wrong, parents are not wrong, or you are totally wrong. There is
one situation like where students go for higher education.
Correct.
The parents don't move, they stay there.
Correct. Yes, exactly. As the birds have to fly, and the parent birds need to stay at the nest. Exactly. It is like that. Right. You can't be asking for, the same great teacher when you move on to the next level. Right. We can't be everywhere now. So it is like that. Thank you for this question. Actually, I really like this question. So yeah, we need to work back home too on this. Now, moving from the break which we had, from the serious discussion, let's move back to the issue which we are talking about, coding teenagers. Now, the next what we are going to talk on this particular issue is disorders, disabilities, and their negative impacts on teenagers. Do we really have this, or this is just a mindset or a stereotype again? Now we would be knowing this from Chandransh's perspective. Here you go, Chandransh, over to you.
I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So first of all, yeah, hi again to everyone. So, well, this is something that I've taken up personally because from a personal point of view, I have witnessed this happen actually. This disorders and depression and, what are its effects on teens, I have seen it happen actually. So, basically it's normal, to feel down once in a while, but, if you're sad most of the time, and it affects your daily life, then it affects your personal, or what you say, daily activities, you will be termed to have clinical depression. And it is a condition that is usually that requires their doctors to come and take, they give you medicine and they give you treatment and everything. So at first, if you look at two people, some of them, they have depression because of personal issues, something that has happened to them in their past, and then they are depressed because of it. But there are some people who have they get it by default. They don't have a choice, they just get it, and then it just keeps happening to them. And then while they have these disorders, people often look down to them. So some of them, they have these kind of depressive disorders that cause them into feeling in such a way. It is a mental condition, and we cannot try to prevent it because it is something that is up close to that particular person. And sometimes, in this is one of the very rare cases, it is because of the internal factors that causes the depression. Usually every time, if you look at a typical case of depression, other people affected, there are external factors here. But then in this case, it is because of the person's very own health. So there are some, okay, let's take an example. There is a person who is having a particular depression because of what you say. This is a bit out of context, but it leads to the same thing: disorder and disabilities. So let's take it that there is a person with a disability. He's not exactly capable as a normal person usually is. But then when he's actually going through that, when he's presenting himself in front of everyone, and he's trying to blend in, there are some particular people who actually they try to tease him, they try to put him down. They say that you're incapable, or you have this disability, that's not good. And people show it in a different way. So the way people look at this particular kind of disability that a person have, they don't actually try to support them, which they're supposed to. But then they instead try to bring them down, and they try to shun them. They're saying like, you are not one of us, you stay away from us. That's the attitude that we observe when one goes through such a disorder or a disability. There are many kinds of depressive disorders. So first one, which is already being shown, is major depression. Many people know it as major depressive disorder. What happens is, many times of the days in this particular week that you find yourself depressed, you find yourself sad, you find yourself incapable, you lose interest in everything that you usually love to do. You even in the choices that you make, sometimes it may be silly, but the choices that you make in the colors, the type of clothes that you choose, from there, that's where you try to identify the problem that a person has. Usually if you try to go for a dull color and like always taking those colors, people are said to have this kind of depression, because those colors are actually representing, maybe it's not supposed to be, but such colors usually represent sad moods. So when a person goes for this, if a person is wearing black color and you can't go and term him as major depressive disorder person. I'm just saying, like, generally, if a person usually keeps going for such type of, color clothing, or, he starts, choosing things in a different way. And even in the style of music, if you see, he starts listening to sad songs, he starts, going after these particular type of choices. That's where you observe that that person is actually going through something. He's actually depressive, because he starts to enjoy those type of music. And usually people don't like sad songs, right? Everyone are after those happy, amazing ones, all those lively ones. But then sometimes such people who go for the sad mood songs, that's where you observe that that person actually is going through depression. Maybe not everyone who listens to sad songs are are depressed, otherwise I would be one of them. But it's not that way. And also, now let's look at another type of depression that is also known as persistent depressive disorder. This is more like a long-term type of disorder. So usually it lasts for years, some more than 1 year, 2 years, it just keeps staying. The word persistent gives you the idea, it stays for longer. So usually this could be because of, internal problems, or maybe your neurological or mental problems, or it could be because of, it could be because of external factors, let's say. Some external factors, people usually get these type of depressions. And usually this term is used to describe two conditions previously known as dysthymia, low grade persistent depression, and chronic major depression, that you will learn when you grow up and take higher studies. So usually changes, it could be sleeping too much or too little, spending most of your time on the bed and not being active, or easily changing in your appetite. Yes, that is a very major thing. Not eating enough or overeating things, that's the problem. Now also there is another one called bipolar disorder. So someone with bipolar disorder, which is also known as manic depression, there are mood episodes, suddenly they feel extremely happy, and then suddenly they get extremely low. So it's just like a mood swing, but with such an intensity, it could have major effects on, your life. So even though medications and everything is there, I don't think, you can actually solve things using medicine. It's a mental problem, and you have to get over it yourself. So first of all, you should look for the external factors that cause it and try to block them out. Such things will, what all external factors that affect you, you are supposed to push them away and try to go for happy things. And usually for some people, they should start spending time with people who actually make them happy. With them, maybe that's the way you get over such things. So even though depression or depressive disorders and disabilities, they may not exactly be the biggest reason for depression, but they sure do have an impact on daily life. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chandraj. That was really insightful. Knowing about there are certain conditions which are not named out, and like gender stereotype, it has always been at the backstage, and it never comes out. But it really stresses most of us, and the need to address it is really prevalent, and we need to actually address them because these are major burning issues which from teen to an adult life it keeps on persisting. Coming to the next this thing, I would like Sakshi to present her views on the things which she's very close to. Sakshi, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So, well, I'm going to present my views on sexual harassment in girls. And I guess everyone now knows what sexual harassment is. It's not a new topic. Sadly, it is not. It is going on since ages. And today, more than ever, it is critical for teenagers to know why sexual harassment is wrong and why, as teens, we must speak up and support the victims in every way possible. I'm going to turn 18 this year, which means I have more than enough experiences of assault, be it physical, emotional, or verbal. And not just me, most of us have come across such instances where the survivor goes through a lot emotionally and mentally post trauma. So, sexual harassment can be found in elementary, middle, and high school hallways in forms like unwanted and unwelcomed physical contact, such as touching, bumping, grabbing, or patting, sexually insulting remarks about race, gender, or class, and intimidating behavior, which includes demeaning nicknames, homophobic phone calls, etc., being followed around by another student or staff. So, sexual harassment might sound like an issue that affects adult women, but global surveys show that young women are no strangers to unwanted attention. According to results of a Cornell University, 85% of women experienced their first instance of harassment before the age of 17. So, middle and high school students appear to be desensitized to sexual harassment. Whether they don't know that they're engaging in it or they don't understand the emotional repercussions for the individual on the receiving end, misogyny and harassment flourish on middle and high school campuses. When a group of peers use sexual phrases or otherwise engage in misogynist talk, it can be very difficult to be the one who stands up to it. So, sexual comments are often dismissed as jokes or locker room talk. When these instances are dismissed, teens internalize the message that this kind of talk is no big deal. This again desensitizes them to the very harmful emotional effects of words and actions. I have seen so many of my peers use negative and sexual words constantly, thinking it makes them look cool. I till date don't understand how shaming others has now become one of the standards that make things look cool. I guess this is one of the reasons why sexual abuse isn't being taken seriously among teens. Because the environment itself has become so dark that it gets hard to identify the reason. And since this is a generation of tech, abusers now have a new mode to harass and target girls easily. Abusive sexting has now become really common. Sexting has been defined as sending, receiving, or forwarding sexually explicit messages, images, or photos to others through digital platforms. and can assume more consensual and more abusive and violent forms. Social media definitely makes it even easier for the abusers to find a target. And this form of cyber harassment is the worst because many of these accused use advanced tech and thus they cannot be traced easily. I recently encountered an anonymous person on social media who threatened to leak and publish my personal information if I didn't give him something in return, which was obviously sexually intended. I didn't have a lot of time to think, so I talked about this to my mother. And being a daughter of very supportive parents, it was easy for me to overcome such harassments because me and my mother have this best friend kind of relationship. And thus I share everything with her. So, even if the anonymous person tried leaking something, I mean, my parents are already familiar with it. So, nothing for me. But I have come across even worse scenarios where the survivor goes through a lot emotionally. When a girl experiences something like this, she starts questioning everything. She starts hating her body and completely isolates from the social world, feeling ashamed. This eventually leads to depression and can cause lifelong panic attacks. If this isn't worse enough, society pulls in and starts to blame the victim. This is the worst experience a victim can possibly go through. I still remember that one time the news channel was going on, and there were a group of elders sipping tea, and news anchor announced yet another case of sexual assault. I was heartbroken when the elders started passing comments like, "She must have worn a short dress. What else can be expected if a girl goes to parties? Or she might be asking for it," etc. We need to understand and accept that no dress, no profession, no age is the reason for such crimes. The only reason are the accused and their dark intentions. Overcoming trauma caused by sexual abuse isn't easy. It's not just the mind, but you are physically affected too. You're often manipulated into thinking that it was your fault, that if you hadn't gone out, nothing would have happened, and everything would be all right. But such thoughts are purely wrong, right? The survivors couldn't have possibly done anything to stop. They obviously tried their best to prevent it. So I believe the only way to overcome this is by talking it out with your trusted ones and providing proper sex education in high schools. Because I guess when people understand its emotional repercussions, then such sexual harassments might decline. And we definitely need this education in India. I realized that saying out the word sex is like standing in Hogwarts common room and screaming Voldemort. So it is pretty common, but it's still not normalized in most of the countries. So I guess keep fighting back and don't listen to the society because you'll feel even more bad and you'll keep blaming yourself. So just remember the strength that you possess. Thank you.
Wonderfully, portrayed the emotions of so many of us, Sakshi. But I would like to hear the boys' perspective too. Do we have this kind of harassment going on from the boys' side? Maybe Chandranj would give us good insight on this. Over to you, Chandranj.
So I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, you're all loud, audible, clear. Please go ahead.
That's all I wanted. So hello again to everyone. Well, this will be the last time I'll be appearing like this and giving such sudden appearances. So well, let's face it, Sakshi has said almost every point that I had, but let's look at it in a different way, because as it states, we are looking at it from a boy's perspective, isn't it? So let's face it, there's yet another thing that has often been overlooked in the case for boys. Yes, girls often, face this horrifying act, that has been done done by people, who have no shame at all, to be honest, from my point of view. But so do boys. They also go through this. Many people see that boys are the one who actually do it to girls. They always look. Some of them look at us as the oppressors, they look at us as the people who actually do it, who are actually the bad people or the villains in this movie. but they don't see the background of the villain too, because even then the boys also go through such things just as much as the girls do. The only difference is this has been severely hidden by many of us, because let's look around. Actually, there are many people among us who have hidden stories with us, if that are horrifying, that we have never seen. Actually, we have never heard of them, but then people don't say it out because they don't have the courage to. They want to face it by themselves and they are ashamed to say it out. Otherwise, by now, you would have clearly known that boys are also going through this. And not only girls, even boys. In fact, many of us have even witnessed, such acts happening. But, we actually don't speak up. Sometimes later on, if another person gets to know this information, from his perspective, he'll be like, this guy is scared. He is a very bad person. But if you look at his perspective too, obviously he wants to say it out. He wants to say that, I have witnessed such a thing. Please, he or she needs help. But then, the problem is such people are being suppressed or threatened by the ones who have actually done those acts, who are sexually assaulting other people. They threaten the people who have witnessed such things and tell them not to say it out. So first, sexual assault can happen to anyone, no matter your age or your orientation or gender identity. It can happen to any and everyone. Men and boys who have been sexually assaulted or abused, they have the same feeling and reactions as the survivors of such an act. But they also face many additional challenges, because of social attitudes and also stereotypes faced by men. Don't cry, cheat. I'm very sorry. Do not cry. And like they say, you don't have tear glands, don't cry. Don't feel. It's just fine. It happens. That's what many people. In fact, let me say from a personal perspective, I have seen elders trying to suppress other people who have gone through this. They're like, don't say it out. It'll put a bad name on us. Nothing happened. Forget it. It's nothing big. It happens everywhere. It's common. That's what people say. It's common. How is it common? I still don't understand. It's not something like a natural phenomenon that keeps happening, right? It's something that is oppressing. It is very, very depressing. Also, men and boys who have actually felt it, who have gone through such things, they just don't say it out. They just, keep it within themselves. Some men who have actually survived it, they feel shame. They feel self-doubt and they don't feel, strong enough that, they should have fought off the perpetrator. They're like, I should have stopped him. That's what the people think sometimes when they've gone through it. But if you see, it's not as easy, as it is said. Many, even actually, as Sakshi said, we should trust people and say it out to them. But, come to think of it, try to put yourself in the situation. Like I said in the starting, in the introduction, we are supposed to try to put ourselves in the situation and try to understand from a perspective. Now, I don't mean that, you should try to go through what the other person has gone through. Just try to put yourself in the situation, as in understand what they're feeling. If you feel what they're feeling, actually it is very, very tough, to come forward and even tell the person you trust that it happened to you. You may have lived your whole life with that person and yet you find it very tough to tell him. Why? Because people think, what if, he might change the way he thinks of me and, he might push me away. He might spread the word. He might, he or she might, disgrace me, disown me. That's what people start overthinking. That itself is another type, of depression, because people don't know whom to trust or what to trust exactly. When it happens to you, I can say from a personal perspective that you lose trust in every single person you have ever trusted in your life, because you will not be able to even look at anyone. If a boy has done it to you, you won't be able to look at anyone else. If you look at someone, you feel that he's the bad guy or she's the bad guy. And, you start feeling that, everyone are the bad people and you lose trust. You, in fact, lose trust in yourself. Why did I let this happen? That self-guilt, it just kills you from within. It requires a lot of courage and stamina to actually tell it out. But I will say that, saying it out makes you feel a whole lot better. It makes you feel safe if you tell it up to the right person. Because boys, like I said at the start, they have stories that are hidden, and I'm pretty sure that they will not come out unless they have to or they are forced out of them. And when a boy trusts someone and tells it, sometimes if he tells it to the right person, then that is the best thing that can ever happen to him, because that person will support him and he will bring back the trust in him. And in fact, at the end, the person who has gotten assaulted, at the end he will come out victorious. That's because he trusts the right person. But the exact problem is because of what the boys are actually going through, the stereotypes that they face, the expectations that they are forced on. Because of that, many people find it very hard to believe that even boys can go through such a thing. They'd be like, boys can fight him off. He's just, like that. He can do anything. But then, boys are also weak. Even iron can get rusted. This is a very powerful quote, I can tell you now. And also, many people also look at boys as the oppressors. That also causes depression, because boys are looked at as the ones who actually do it, and they are always the bad guys. They are the assaulters to many people in their point of view. That so if a person has been sexually assaulted, and if he goes and tells it to another person that yes, it has happened to me, there can be two situations. He will understand. One situation is he will understand, he will help him, and everything will happen. Another situation is he will think he's lying. That is the worst part. That's why I said people find it very hard to trust people, because they lose trust in every single person that they have ever been in contact with. That's why it is, sexual harassment on boys is not exactly looked up or, even shown out, but it actually is hidden, and it will stay hidden. And I'm sure that, maybe in future, I hope the people who have gone through it, I hope that they find the right person and they have the courage to get over it. But I don't see the situation ending soon, where boys are are always looked as the oppressors. Thank you.
It's great knowing Chandranta's insight here on boys. This thing, yes, I totally agree that that is the missing factor which has never been opened up. But there is something else which, as a teenager, because you are stepping into the adult world, you need to know about relationships, and what better way to understand what is toxicity in relationships are definitely beautiful, but when it comes with toxicity, we need to really work on it. I would like to call Sakshi to present her views on this. Sakshi, have you ever underwent these kind of situations, or is it just a general perspective that you're giving it to us?
No, I actually have, and I will mention them.
Yeah, sure, go
in my
ahead,
talk.
please.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
So when we talk about relationships, they are something that can either break you or make you as a person, because every facet of life involves relationships of some type. The characteristics of those relationships are significant factors that influence both mental and emotional health. And when I say the word relationship, I don't just mean the ones that are romantic. I mean any relationship, be it a friendship or the bonds we share as a family, a student-teacher relationship, etc. We humans, being a very social species, build relationships to develop a sense of belonging and love. It helps us connect with the world and exchange a wide set of thoughts and opinions, which truly help us evolve as an individual. So without relationships, life is definitely empty, boring, and lonely, right? It's colorless. So, however, not all our bonds are healthy. A few of them can be pretty harmful to you and your mental health. Toxic relationships can be defined in some ways. Toxicity can be in the eye of the beholder. So it's not necessarily a checklist, but a few common traits and behaviors are abuse of power and control, demandingness, self centeredness, negativity, dishonesty, and demeaning comments, jealousy, and yeah. So, well, the most devastating thing about toxic relationship is that they trap the victim, so that they're manipulated, and the victim does not realize that, okay, you know what, he or she is in a toxic relationship. So in a cycle of stress and negativity that feels impossible to escape. And over time, it conditions players to accept the situation. So instead of getting out of it, we just accept it and just live with it. There was a point in my life when I was, too young and naive and thought that the world is made of good and loving people only. So allow me to share a personal story.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
was,
Yes,
yes,
please.
I was in sixth standard and there was this girl in my bus. Okay, she was a senior and she at first seemed very welcoming. Eventually, we became really good friends, and I trusted her with all my secrets. So one day, she used my secrets against me and started rumors that really hurt me. And no, that isn't the worst part. For months, I didn't even realize that it was her who was causing all the problems. So, till then, I would talk to her the same way because I was clueless, right? And I genuinely thought that she was helping me. And when I realized, I obviously confronted her about this. But it didn't turn out to be good. I was bullied in the bus, and there were so many days where I'd just sit and cry, hoping to reach home as soon as possible. Well, it really did make it hard for me to trust anyone again, for my family again. You know, I wouldn't say that this incident made me depressed. Even if it did, I didn't realize it. Anyways, so this was one example of a toxic relationship and how harmful it can be to our mental health. And I also came across instances where, teenagers are tied with toxic relationships with their parents, though the cases are very less, and it's almost impossible to believe something like this. But reports have shown that the reason for a lot of unreported causes of depression is because of their toxicity in the family. A lot of teenagers in India go through domestic violence, which leaves them with long term trust issues. Beating and slapping sure has been normalized from ages because that is how children are taught to be disciplined. It might look like an effective solution for a short term, but that shouldn't be the way to teach any form of life lesson. I myself didn't realize how it impacts a child until I came across this video which explained how such ways of getting students to follow discipline can actually normalize violence to an extent that once they're grown up they keep hurting others thinking it isn't wrong because it comes out of love after all, which eventually leads to many more serious issues. So teens from violent homes experience guilt and shame about their violent homes and fear the consequences of talking about the abuse within the home. Because the approval of peers is so important at this age, many teens would prefer to hide what is going on in their families than risk being ostracized by their peers. So these children may end up running away to avoid having the secret of what is going on, which is probably why we see so many running away cases in India, especially with teens, of course. So this is how we can see toxicity in families. And the other form is again something which I'll be talking about. When I hear the word teacher, the first thing that comes in my mind is a second parent. And I'm so grateful for having such loving teachers like throughout my life. But unfortunately, this isn't the case for everyone. A few of my friends have had teachers who held them back constantly and never provided them with equal opportunities. This relationship created a sense of uselessness and insecurity among my friends. So they stopped trying to be better because they believed that, no matter how hard they try, the teachers will just ignore them and not give them a platform to showcase their talents. And then comes the one that is the most common, dating. Teenagers get really excited about such bonds because, firstly, it's a very new concept to them, and secondly, because of their peers. Having a romantic relationship in this age isn't easy and shouldn't be a necessity. Teens have a hard time figuring out so many things, and dating might cause a lot of turbulence to their mental health. While a few of such relationships can help you grow and evolve, most of them really break you from inside and leave you with tears. In this age, it can be hard to tell which ones are toxic. Making a relationship work needs effort and time, both which we teens cannot fully dedicate to because we already have a lot on our plates. We have studies, extracurriculars, figuring out a future, etc. So this probably is the reason you'll find a lot of elders telling us to, concentrate on our studies at this age. Anyways, I too have been in and out of such toxic relationships. Some of the red flags to look out for are lack of support, envy, control issues, overprotectiveness, etc. And I personally also have come across instances where the toxicity demanded my friends to isolate from the social world completely. Why? Because when you have a good friend, I mean, obviously, if I was a friend to someone and that someone is going through a very toxic relationship, I would tell her that this isn't right. You deserve to be treated better. So because of that, many relationships, they just demand the someone to separate from from the society and social media completely. So that was one case. And I guess the only way to overcome such toxicity is by having some alone time and just taking a pause, to rethink and reinterpret everything. Because we need to know our worth, and we shouldn't let anyone take away our smile. Because I have heard this quote a lot of times. It says that smile is the most beautiful accessory a one can possess. Now it applies for everyone. Okay, it's not just for girls, for guys too. So yes, I guess just know your worth and don't let them take away your smile. I personally am really grateful to my family because that is the one place I can always rely on, even when the world's turning against me. They are my strength and have always been my support system. My teachers too played a really important role in shaping my future, to which I'll forever be grateful. Thank you.
It's lovely, Sakshi. You have just bared open your deep secrets, or the dark sides of your life. I would not call it deep secret or dark side anymore, because it is not just happening to you; it is happening to all of us. Actually, the only thing is we never had this platform where we could share it as an adult. Now that you have so much of virtual platforms open, where you can tweet and share and all that. It's good that you at least can come out and you can at least talk about it. Now the next topic and the last topic, which the teens would be the teens would be giving their opinion on, is something which is a taboo, and if we talk about it, we are considered something else, and that is none other than depression. I call Kshiraja and Srija to talk about it and present their views. Why do they? I mean, what exactly is this depression as per you? Yes, Srija and Kshiraja, if you are there, please just join us.
Yes, ma'am. We learned about depression. We just now heard about depression and in the forms and the ways it could affect somebody from Chandranj. But today, now, me and Shiraja are here to tell you, after you know about depression, what is the problem? What is the next step? Okay, you know it, but are you accepting the idea that depression exists? And could you handle it if somebody beside you gets depression? Would you recognize it? What would you do to work on it? That's the question we would like to ask. And depression is frequently stigmatized and judged, especially in the Indian society. If you say, I feel really sad, I feel depressed, and I'm so moody because of it, they might say, you're doing some act, you're putting on a show, you're doing some act, you're putting on an act because you want to skip some things, you want to be lazy for a while, so you're putting on this act. And this shows that you're not accepting it. You know that depression exists, but you're not accepting it on a personal level, that someone you know might even have it. People might think that those struggling with this condition refuse to cope with life's stress, or they assume the people with depression are weak, but they are affected, they can fight over it and come over it. The importance of awareness is such that it helps spread education and information about this condition. In doing so, that helps reduce the stigma associated with this mental health condition. We we could come over the stigma and taboo around this topic and be able to freely talk to one another. If I have this condition, I must be able to communicate that with you. I should not feel judged about it. I should not feel scared and anxious over the fact that you might think you might have a wrong opinion on me if I express my thoughts. Stigma could cause people to refrain from getting depression treatment. And they might even pretend that nothing is wrong with them just so that they could move on and not be different from the crowd. Leaving this condition untreated could lead to more significant problems. And we often fall into the pits of alcohol and drug usage just because we are unable to communicate the fact that we are at the starting stages of depression. We fall into the deeper levels because we keep it to ourselves, and it keeps growing. Understanding is one thing, and accepting the fact that it could happen to anybody around us is the next level. And I would like to quote that no person is your friend who demands your silence or denies your right to grow. Be with the right kind of people who would trust what you say and try to help you grow. I will pass on to Shiraja.
So just as Sridhar told about the taboos related and the stigmas that are associated with depression, well, let's face it that all of us have been depressed at some point of time, and it hasn't been such a great experience for us. Obviously, we have faced it when it with numerous aspects, and if there are people who are facing it right now as well, there are people who push them down instead of acknowledging the fact that they are going through something that they need help with. So, as a personally, as I faced it personally, certain things that I've gone through were to people telling me to stop putting on a show, or making it look big, as everybody faces it. But let's be honest, although everybody faces it, we all face different things, and the impact it has on us is completely different. So as as we go on, I would like to also tell that we need to start accepting it. And how would we accept it? By first knowing that how in what state we are in. Actually, we just can't go on with our depression and be like, this is how I'm going to be. This is not how we're going to be. In fact, when we know it, we have to make ourselves a better person. And after all, in the end, we are all we can be for ourselves. So it's not just for us, but also for the others. So certain things that we can do when it comes to depression is to first acknowledge the fact that there could be somebody who is depressed, and if you are related to them in some way, and if you want to help them truthfully and wholeheartedly. Be genuine about it. Just don't help them because you want to be there for them, but if you are there for them just for name's sake, that will not help the person, not you. As we look out for curbing depression rather than increasing it by not actually being there for a person genuinely. Also, instead of passing comments on a person and calling them weak or incapable of taking care of themselves and for showing the so-called strength that we possess, well, we do, but then the way they put it out doesn't seem quite realistic. And also, certain things that they can do is to actually share some positivity with them. As we all know that there one if one is negative, then this negativity, the radiation passes and all, and then the entire environment gets negative, and then that takes on a toll. So that is another thing. And also, what we can do when it comes to ourselves is also starts from acknowledgement. And certain things such as changing our lifestyle actually helps. That is what most of us who have come out of it have started out with. Changing in lifestyle, changing our peer groups, our friend groups, talking to these people whom we really trust has actually helped. And this is actually a healthy start to it. And also letting go from certain relationships or letting go certain habits is never wrong. At first we might feel a little guilty. It's fine because it has become a habit, and letting go of habits is quite tough until we are quite dedicated to break that habit and start better ones can that can shape us and make us a better version of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Srija and Kshiraja. That was wonderful that you brought out something which most of us do not like to talk about because it's a taboo, as you have already mentioned. Okay, to take it on a lighter note, as you have asked few questions to the educators, we too have few questions for you. Um just give me a moment. I will change the slide bar and then, yeah, here we go. So the first question, I am just asking this first question to Srija. Srija, are you there, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Srija, this first question is for you. How important is teenage independence, and do you think you people in the sense teenagers, are they capable of handling this independence?
Personally, in my view, I think teenage independence is that important. More than teenage independence, what is important is that parent tries to understand that the teenage could have independence. Their teenager could have independence. They try to allow them to a new place and observe if they are handling the situation well in order to give them independence further. To know if your child is capable of handling a situation, you must first give them the trial. Just like Netflix gives us free trial, we must also show our children they are capable of going into the society. We need to observe. If they are not able to do it, then we can teach them. It's not always that you get a result by denying them and leaving it for them for their adulthood to figure it out. We want to go into adulthood prepared as confident teenagers, not as somebody who has been protected under the parental supervision. And suddenly, as adults, we start doing some new stuff, and we call hashtag adulting and start doing new stuff for the first time in lives. We do not want that. So we strive for independence. It's not always rebellious nature that we show as independence.
Oh wow, lovely. This is what we all love about teenagers. Maybe we are jealous somewhere because we were not this open and we could not tell out so openly. Nice perspective. Yes, we should let you have that independence. Maybe in a small measures that would, slowly help you out, as Sakshi has told. So Sakshi, actually the question was for you, but now because I have heard so much from your perspective about your parents, so I changed this question to Kshiraja. Kshiraja, this question is for you, beta. Do you think parents' perspective or parental approach in parenting a teen is correct? As a teenager, do you think this particular approach your parents follow, or generally your friends' parents follow? Is it correct, or do you think there should be something that we all are missing somewhere?
Um, well, according to me, as well, I have to say that
And please be very
relationship with my
honest,
parents.
we'll all.
Yes, yes.
yeah. Yeah.
So the relationship with my parents, being honest has been quite. We've been quite open about so many things, and there are so many more things that we have to open and talk about because that's how we get to know about each other, and then we learn about each other. Most importantly, so the way my parents or my friends' parents, I'm not going to talk about my friends' parents, as each person's parenting is different, and I am not going to deny that fact. So when it comes to my parents and their parenting, well, as I'm growing up, and and as I've just said, our relationship has been quite open. It's more like a best friend sort of a relationship that we guys hold. So we can talk about things, even if it looks a little awkward to talk about, especially when it comes to the others. You view it as like that, but being this way has actually helped me in a lot many ways. Actually, has helped me come out of a lot many things. So starting from me being an introvert to identifying myself as who I am, this kind of a parenting has actually helped me. And if there is something that I would like to change, I wouldn't actually want to change anything, because how it is, it's going quite perfect. And maybe sometimes there are some fights and all that take place, but it's common for families, to happen that way and all of that. And sometimes we need to be open about certain things, even if they hurt and all of that. That's all I'd like to say.
Yeah, as you told, each parenting style is different, and the parent's perspective towards your issues would be definitely different, because at the end it is again the same, no? The root cause, the bringing up, the brought up, the clash between both of them and the generation too. Yes. So let's move on to the next question. Sakshi, this would be for you. Do you feel that your generation is worse affected? Okay, there is a question too. Have you ever tried knowing your parents' version of their teenage? Have you? Have you done this? I mean, this question is actually, the second question is open to you all. Have you ever tried to know your parents as a teenager?
So it's like, even if we don't try to, I guess they themselves keep telling stories.
Yeah, that's
So,
that has
when I do something wrong, and obviously, they scold, then they just be like, jab we were small, then we used to get so many beatings with sticks and chappals and everything. So I guess, I mean,
And
obviously we
trust
can.
me, we are not boasting or we are not bragging, because this really happened. I will tell you one of the incident. I don't know if I've shared with you during our class tenure. I stopped liking mathematics because we had this kind of punishment where I was beaten on knuckles with scales. Okay, so this was kind of punishment, and back home also. We did not have this particular opportunity saying that something has happened back school. So the first thing which comes in a parent's mind is, okay, तूने कुछ गलत किया है. That is the reason, right? So yeah, we actually had it. It is not that we are bragging or boasting. Yes, please go on.
Yes, ma'am, that's it. So I mean, I'm not blaming the parents, but then see, it's like we get it. You have been through something. All the parents have been through something, but that doesn't mean that you put us through something similar like that. I mean, you know what you have felt, so I guess instead of scolding, you can ask why did you do this, or just try to understand us better.
So you say your generation is the worst affected. That is what you sidelingly and very subtly pointed it out, but wonderful. Now, do I have Chandransh here? Where are you, Chandransh?
Right here, ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful, Chandransh. I read somewhere, Chandransh, that sometimes negativity or stress builds characters. It builds characters, a positive character I'm talking about. Like a crisis brings out your Avengers or superheroes, which you call it. Though it is a rare occurrence, it is only fiction, but yeah, sometimes it really happens. Do you think you have that quality in the present teenagers? And how and what measures, if you have this kind of quality, how and what measures the others who do not have this quality should take into consideration for the situations that you all have faced till now?
Well, I don't know who gave the sentence that negative or crisis can bring out.
No,
the
it
best
really
in-
brings out. It really brings out. There are people who work perfectly well under pressure, and I think I'm one of them. I need pressure for me. I mean, I need stress. Yes, please go ahead.
Well, that's just luck, For some people, it may be luck. Some people, it may be, that they convert that particular crisis into useful energy. That's what it is.
Yeah, that is what I'm
But-
saying. Yes, correct.
Yeah, but not everyone are as strong as that, because under pressure, not only can some of them work together, they can also break.
Yeah,
If
correct.
you see, you said Avengers and stuff, right? So under pressure in the crisis, Hawkeye could have saved Black Widow, but then Black Widow died. So
Yeah,
such
let's not talk
negative-
about. I just generalized it.
I'm
okay?
just giving an
Yeah,
example.
yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
So if you see, such crisis can actually bring out the worst side in you, because actually, if you take the situation, maybe the person who has gone through it, at first he may succumb to the situation, but he will fight back, obviously, later on. But the fact that a crisis can bring out the best in you is actually rare. not all of us can actually do it. As ma'am said, yes, ma'am, you can do it because you are another level. But
No.
we
I'm
are
not saying
obviously,
another level, but I'm generalizing this concept. Okay, there are millions and
Yeah.
millions people in the world.
many people.
Many
And
people.
under pressure, many people do. Even cricketers, if you see,
Yeah, you
so
see.
many
Yeah,
under
exactly.
pressure.
Correct.
Under pressure, they actually bring out the best in them,
True.
especially MS Dhoni and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. But then not everyone can be MS Dhoni, all of us can be a different version of ourselves. So under pressure, some of us break, some of us show out the best in ourselves. But at the end, I'm pretty sure every one of us will show out the best in ourselves. After it, we always learn we always learn the best from what is happening. And then we show our best selves, and then we come through it.
Okay, Chandraj, that was very nice to know your views on yourself. Actually, you are more self-aware. Okay, that is why we say Gen Z, right? Then all of us. Okay, there is something which I want to show before we end and we come to this conclusion for this particular show. Just give me a moment, guys. Yeah. So this is a bowl, which is a Japanese art form that is called as kitsungi, the art of precious scars. I just wanted to show you this picture quickly. Then, yes, we have thank you over here, and I will stop sharing this, and I will just tell you. See, the artwork or the framework which we all are talking about, this Japanese style of bringing out or hiding the things. Chandraj, Sakshi, you there? Sri Lakshmi madam, you there? Maybe you will just help us out in this particular aspect. Yeah. So what I was saying is, see, the bowl when it breaks, okay, the bowl as it is, which is made beforehand, when it breaks, okay, it is actually shattered, like how your mindset is shattered right now. But please remember that the flaws which has been presented to you by life, by people, by surrounding, by peers, by pressures, or by depression, or by whatever situation you are undergoing, they are the gold. They are the gold lines which actually beautify your life. These are the experiences, and that is why the art of precious scars has become most popular in Japanese ikigai too. So trust me when we say we have not grown 40 years like just like this, isn't it? 40, 50, or whatever years. Life has shown us some experiences, and yes, they have actually made us more, what do I say, more mature, uh, more approachable, and it has changed our outlook. So each situation presents a different outlook, and we all ask you to brace these kind of situations. Please welcome these situations with an open heart and open mind. I know most of the situations you cannot do so, so please have a person or a benefactor who can help you out. Thank you once again. Thank you all of you for showing immense patience. We are actually, this is 2 hours 47 minutes we have been on board, and trust me guys, it has actually garnered so much of attention. And thank you so much for bringing out wonderful issues that you all have spoken about. It was actually much needed. Thank you once again, all the viewers. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.